Your dog just did something. Maybe they got into the trash while you were gone. Maybe they chewed something they shouldn't have. And when you walked in, they were already doing it. The flattened ears, the lowered head, the eyes that couldn't quite meet yours. You recognized it immediately. Guilt. You probably even said it out loud. You know what you did. And you were wrong. Not about the trash, about the guilt. What you saw on your dog's face was not guilt. It has never been guilt. And the science behind this is only the beginning. Because almost everything mainstream dog training taught you about how your dog thinks is either incomplete, misapplied, or built on research that the scientist who published it spent the rest of his career trying to undo. Some of it caused real harm, for decades, to millions of dogs. In 2009, Alexandra Horowitz, a cognitive scientist at Barnard College, published a study designed specifically to test whether dogs feel guilt. She set up a simple experiment. Owners told their dogs not to eat a treat, then left the room. Some dogs ate the treat, some didn't. Then the owners came back. But here is what the owners didn't know. Horowitz had scrambled the information. Some owners were told their dog had eaten the treat when it hadn't. Some were told their dog hadn't eaten it when it had. The dogs whose owners believed they had misbehaved showed the full guilty display, flattened ears, averted eyes, lowered body, even when they had done absolutely nothing wrong. The dogs whose owners believed they had behaved showed no guilty display, even when they had eaten the treat. The guilty look has nothing to do with what the dog did. It is a response to what the owner looks like when they walk in. Dogs are extraordinarily sensitive to human facial expressions and body language. They read you faster than you read them. The moment you came through that door, with the slightly tightened jaw and the slower gait, your dog responded, not to its own conscience, to yours. Here is something almost everyone believes. A wagging tail means a happy dog. It does not. A wagging tail means an aroused dog, alert, stimulated, emotionally activated. That arousal can be happiness, it can also be anxiety, overstimulation, or the seconds before a bite. The position matters more than the movement. A tail held high and wagging stiffly is a warning signal in most breeds. The dog is saying, I am intensely focused on something right now. That is not always a safe thing to be near. A tail held low, wagging in a wide, loose sweep, is submission or genuine relief. A tucked tail that still wags is fear. Veterinary behaviorist Dr. Sophia Yin documented dog body language for years and found that a significant number of dog bites happen in situations where the owner later described the dog as wagging its tail the whole time. The tail was wagging, the dog was not happy. We have been reading the wrong signal for generations. In 1947, a Swiss animal behaviorist named Rudolf Schenkel published a study on wolf behavior. He had observed wolves in captivity, strangers taken from different places, forced to share an enclosure. He watched them fight, establish hierarchies, compete for status. He called the winners alpha wolves. It was the wrong conclusion from the wrong data. The wolves Schenkel observed were not a natural pack. They were strangers under stress, competing the way any confined group of strangers competes when resources are limited. Natural wolf packs are family units, a breeding pair and their offspring. They don't have alpha hierarchies. They have parents. David Mech, the biologist who later popularized the alpha concept in a 1970 book that became the foundation of dog training for 3 decades, spent the rest of his career trying to undo what that book started. In 2004, he published an explicit paper asking scientists and trainers to stop using his earlier research. He wrote that the concept of an alpha wolf ruling a pack was outdated and based on faulty data. He asked his publisher to stop selling the 1970 book. They refused. It had sold too many copies. The alpha concept had already become mainstream dog training. Trainers told owners to dominate their dogs, to pin them on their backs in what they called the alpha role, to never let the dog walk ahead on a leash, to eat before the dog eats, to go through doorways first, to always establish yourself as pack leader. All of it was built on a 1947 study of captive stranger wolves. None of it was based on how dogs actually think. A 2009 study published in the journal Applied Animal Behavior Science examined 140 dogs trained with confrontational dominance techniques, including the alpha roll and the scruff shake. Dogs trained this way bit their owners at significantly higher rates, not lower, higher. The dominance myth didn't produce calm, obedient dogs, it produced frightened ones, and frightened dogs bite. Dr. Stanley Coren at the University of British Columbia has spent decades studying canine psychology. His research indicates that dogs have the emotional range of a human child between 2 and 2.5 years old. They experience joy, fear, anger, disgust, and what functions as love. They do not experience shame, pride, contempt, or guilt, which is exactly what Horowitz found. The guilty look is not on the list of emotions dogs are capable of feeling. The display exists, the emotion behind the human version of it does not. Brian Hare at Duke University has documented something even striking. Dogs have a cognitive ability that no other animal on Earth, including chimpanzees, possesses to the same degree. They can follow a human pointing gesture. This does not sound remarkable until you understand what it means. Chimpanzees cannot reliably do this. Wolves raised by humans cannot do this. Only dogs understand that when a human points, the relevant information is at the end of the point, not at the human's hand. This ability did not exist in wolves. It evolved specifically in dogs, over thousands of generations living alongside humans. They didn't develop it for the wild, they developed it for us. In 2015, Miho Nagasawa at Azabu University in Japan published a study in the journal Science. She measured oxytocin levels in both dogs and their owners during extended mutual eye contact. Oxytocin is the bonding hormone, the same chemical released between mothers and newborn infants, the biological mechanism of human attachment. When dogs and their owners held eye contact, both the dog and the human showed significant spikes in oxytocin, both. Wolves raised by humans showed no such response. This mutual oxytocin loop, triggered simply by looking at each other, exists between humans and dogs. No other animal on Earth shares it with us. It evolved, across thousands of years, between our two species. Tonight, your dog will look at you. Maybe when you come home, maybe across the room while you're sitting still. That long, soft look that you have probably described quietly to yourself as love. You were not wrong about that one. Every myth in dog psychology came from the same mistake. We kept projecting our own psychology onto an animal that had already evolved its own. A psychology built not for a wolf pack, not for dominance hierarchies or alpha status, but specifically over thousands of generations for us. Your dog does not think it is a wolf. It cannot feel guilt about the trash. The wagging tail does not mean what you thought it meant, and it never needed you to dominate it. It needed you to understand it. What you live with is an animal that evolved the ability to read your face, follow your pointing hand, and hold your gaze in a way that triggers the same bonding chemistry that keeps parents attached to their children. No other animal on Earth does that. Not for any human, only for you. You did not adopt an animal that tolerates you. You live with one that spent 15,000 years evolving specifically to love you. And every misread signal, every alpha roll, every wrongly punished moment was applied to an animal that had already chosen your species long before we understood what that choice actually meant.